all right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Dr. Cece Says, my weekly Facebook Live. And this month, you all know, is BIPOC Mental Health Month, also known as Minority Mental Health Month. But we don't use that phrase. And why is that? Because there is nothing minor about us. All right. So, y'all, as usual, drop hello, hey, what's up in the chat so I know that you are here. If you are watching the replay, drop replay in the chat for me. And feel free to just communicate, right? So, tonight we are going to finish up our discussion on BIPOC mental health and Mental Health Month. And so, before we talked a lot about racial trauma, we've talked a lot about stress and other factors that specifically affect BIPOC folks, right? And so we know we're talking about Black, Indigenous, people of color. So we talked a lot about that. We also talked a lot about what are some things that we can consistently do to address the things that we go through. So we talked about how we improve our self-care mindset. So not just having a self-care regimen, but actually understanding why we need to engage in self-care on a consistent basis. We also talked about why we need to rest and how rest is important all the time. And last week we talked about validation. So, how we need to validate ourselves and we need to make sure that we are in validating environments where other people are able to validate our experience, even if they haven't lived it, right? So, oh, I see I got some folks in the chat. Hey, Raffinay. Hey, hubby. Hey, Bri. Yeah, so thank y'all for being on with me tonight. So, tonight we are going to talk specifically about mental health care or professional help, therapy, counseling, whatever you want to call it. I want to talk about that specifically. So, for you all that have been following me, you all know I talk about thriving as opposed to surviving. And one way that we thrive in our life is to make sure that we have the appropriate tools, the appropriate skills for us to thrive. And so, mental health care, whether people believe it or not, the way that we kind of help thrive after we've had stress and we've had trauma and we've had all these other things is to use resources like mental health care. And so for BIPOC folks, we know that there are a lot of barriers to accessing mental health care. We know there's exposure. We know there's issues with insurance. We know that there are issues as far as finances go, and therapy, depending on where you are, can be pretty expensive. And then also there is this stigma associated with mental health care. And so, really, one of the main reasons that I even created Heart and Soul Mental Health LLC was to address the stigma and the exposure part for BIPOC folks. I want to make sure that we understand, as people of color, how many different things we have available to us and the importance of utilizing those strategies, right? So I have heard all sorts of things like, oh, therapy just for rich folks or therapy just something that white folks do. It's not. It's not. Therapy is something that can be helpful for all of us. And so when you think about BIPOC folks and you think about all of the daily microaggressions and racism and oppression and all the different things that we have had to deal with systematically, right, as well as personally, it just makes sense that we are using all of the skills that are available, all of the strategies that we can get our hands on. And so therapy is one of those. And so, y'all, when I talk about thriving in therapy, for my patients that are swimmers or for people that know about swimming, I'll use the statement, I don't want you to just tread water. I want you to swim. And what I mean when I say that is, I don't want you to be stuck. I don't want you to just be in one place doing the same thing over and over and over again, expending a lot of energy, but not really moving. All right. So if you think about when somebody's treading water, they're in the same place. They're keeping themselves afloat. They're doing a whole lot up under the water, but they're not going anywhere. They're just kind of staying just like right in that spot. And what we really want to see happen is we want you to swim. in life. We want you to have some movement. We want you to make some progress. We want you to achieve your goals. All right. We want you to actually thrive and not just exist, not just be in this life. And so, one way again that we do that is through therapy. Okay, yeah, Raffinate, that's one of my favorites. Yeah, we can't just tread water; we got to swim. Hey, Jaleesa. Yeah, so y'all, let's talk a little bit about how we do that, right? So, the first thing I wanted to talk about was when is it beneficial to seek therapy? So, whenever you feel stuck, when you can't accomplish your goals, when there are things in your life that are getting in the way, and those things can be anything really: stress, fear, sadness, guilt, anger, obsessive thoughts, experiences in the past, difficulty getting along with other folks in your present, issues in your marriage, grief. Because a lot of people think that grief is just something that occurs and it'll go away after a little while. Y'all, grief can be an obstacle. Grief can actually be there so long that it's causing dysfunction, right? And so, not that anybody can tell you how to grieve, but sometimes we get stuck in our grief and we can't move forward, or we can't move forward the way that we would want to, or the way that our loved ones that are going on to heaven would want us to. And so sometimes even grief can be something that we can go into therapy and discuss, right? So, y'all, therapy can help in all of these situations and so many more. If you can identify a concern, I promise you there's a type of therapy that'll address it. And I'm out here all the time advocating for good therapy. Notice I said good. I'm out here advocating for good therapy. And I get pushback, right? Y'all would probably chuckle at some of the comments and some of the things that I've heard. But why do y'all think I get pushback? So drop some stuff in the chat for me. Hey, Courtney. Yeah, why do you all think I get pushback when I'm out here advocating for therapy? What are some of the things you all think I hear? So just drop some stuff and I'll tell y'all some as well. What you say, Raffinette? Yes, good therapy matters. And so, y'all, I will do at some point, I've been working on it, and I want to be careful about how I present it, but I am going to do a series on good therapy. What is good therapy, and what is the impact of going to therapy that's not considered good, that's not provided by a professional, or that's provided by a professional that's not a good match for you, because that's a thing. Okay, so I'm gonna do a whole series on that. All right, Raffinay said, I don't need therapy. Yes. So, Raffinay, I'm going to get to that in a minute. But, yep, I definitely hear I don't need therapy. I definitely hear I'm not ready for that. Thank you for that, hubby. He said, not wanting to be stigmatized. Yes. Jaleesa, yeah, I don't have time. It's for crazy people. Raffinay, you hitting on all my points. Yeah. It's too expensive. Yep. And y'all, another one, because y'all, everybody on here probably know that I'm Christian. Another one that I hear is, I got God. And so, y'all, there are some shirts and some mugs and some other things that say God plus therapy equals good health. And that is the truth. So I have to tell folks, that'll say, oh, well, I got God. I don't know that God wanted me to go to therapy. God made therapists too. Okay? Just know that. Know that I love the Lord. I'm called according to his purpose. And I know that one of the things that God had for me to do is to help people with mental health. So just remember that. Okay. Kevin, what you said, child? Yes. Oh, I love it. Yeah, Raffinay says she has one that says Jesus and therapy. Raffinay, send me the link because I need to get all the shirts about God, therapy, Jesus, therapy, all of that. Yeah. Hey, Nicole. Thank you for being on here. Yeah. So everything that y'all are saying, absolutely correct, right? I get pushback a lot of times because of the stigma. And that's the part that I want to talk about specifically tonight. How we view therapy. What we think about it, what judgments we place on it, right? And so some of these things that you all dropped in here, like the one Jaleesa said about I don't have time, people say that, but what they're really saying is I won't prioritize it. And that could be for a number of reasons. You might not prioritize it because you don't think it's helpful. You might not prioritize it because it's scary for you and you know it's going to be a lot of work. You might not prioritize it because you don't understand it that well. Whatever it is, when we say stuff like, I don't have time, what we're really saying is, I won't make time for it. And no judgment, but let's just be clear about what we're saying. Okay, Kevin said Jesus was a therapist. Definitely. Yeah, one of his names, Wonderful Counselor. Yeah. So look, don't y'all start me to preaching just yet. But okay, so let's talk about the stigma. Y'all, so I can't tell you how many times people bring their kids to therapy and the kids are resistant to therapy. And when we get to the bottom of why, it's because they've inherited the attitude of their parents or other adults in their life, right? And so it's very apparent when I see a kid that's been exposed to therapy and they've been taught, oh, this is a coping strategy, go in there and use it, be open, say everything you need to say, and let her help you, right? So, we have those kids, and then we have those kids that have been told that therapy, even if they didn't say it outright, they've been given the impression that therapy is a punishment. So they've been threatened with therapy. If you don't stop acting crazy, I'm gonna send you to the therapist, right? Or they've been in therapy and they've been doing really well, and then something happens, they hit a little speed bump, that's what I call it, and the parent will say, oh, I can't wait to tell Dr. CC how you been acting, right? Y'all, even if we're not saying it, we are giving the idea that there's something wrong with therapy. Or we're giving the idea that you're going to be in trouble when you go to the therapist. And so I have to make it real clear to the kids and to the parents, you don't get in trouble with me, right? I didn't birth you. I don't pay for anything for you. I don't live in your home. You don't live in my home. You don't get in trouble with me. You come to me for assistance. You come to me not for judgment and not for punishment, but for me to try to help you figure out what's going on in a very non-judgmental and accepting way. And so, I always say this, I always give this caveat: parents, adults in kids' lives, aunties, uncles, mentors, teachers, all of that. Y'all, please be mindful of how you talk about the help that you are getting or that you are giving to these kids. Okay. And I'm talking about therapy right now, but that could be mentoring. That could be whether we're talking about tutoring, right? That could be coaching. Whatever it is, be careful, be mindful about how you're talking about these things, because you don't just want these kids to use these things right now. You want them to have a good relationship with help in general so that they will get whatever help they need even when they're an adult, right? Okay, yes, therapy is not a punishment, not at all. So, in order for us to be careful, in order for us to be mindful about the wording, yeah, we have to be aware of our attitudes, the attitudes that we hold towards things like therapy. So, y'all know I like work. So, I got some reflection questions for you. Okay. You can feel free to drop these answers in the chat, because these don't have to be exactly how you feel. These could just be, how you have observed other people behaving, or what other people have said. But I want you to actually think about how you approach it, how other people approach it, just so you're mindful of what your attitude is. So, number one, when you think about people going to therapy, what judgments pop up? What are some things that you might automatically think, or what are some things you think other people automatically think when they think about people going to therapy? And you all have already dropped some of them in there for me. What do you think about people that are in therapy? So, like, I've had plenty of kids say, I'm not crazy. I don't know why I'm here. I'm not crazy. And so then we have a conversation about, do you think therapy is for quote unquote crazy folks? And they'll say yes. And I'll say, well, what is crazy? All right. So that's a word my kids and my parents aren't really allowed to use in therapy once I explain to them why. Saying that somebody is crazy doesn't actually tell us anything. There could be so many different definitions. Are you crazy because maybe you have some anxiety? Are you crazy because maybe you have depression? Is that what crazy is? Like, if we're talking about insanity, the definition of that is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So if we go on with that, how many folks can say that maybe they've had some insane moments? Right. So I have to break it down to them and explain. Crazy doesn't tell us anything. It has very negative connotations to it. So let's not even use that. Let's actually talk about what we really want to talk about. Right. Okay. So let's see. Raffinay said, can't handle your problems. Yep. And Raffinay, I'm coming to that one in a second. Illness or severe mental health concerns, definitely, definitely. So a lot of people think, and I have this in here, are you embarrassed because you feel like you shouldn't need that type of help? Right. So going to what Raffinay said about you can't handle your problems. So, oh, my stuff is so bad. I can't handle it on my own. I got to go see somebody. I got to go see a professional. And I get that from a lot of folks, that's just starting therapy. This strong black woman syndrome. And not just black women have this issue, right? Other people have it too, but we definitely see it in black women. I should be able to handle this. I should be able to take care of this on my own. Who said so? Show me where it's written. What book is it in that we supposed to be able to do this? So yeah, that's definitely one. Also, I hear a lot of people that'll say, well, and I'm jumping ahead, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all now. People will say, well, my stuff really isn't that bad, so maybe we should save these services for somebody else. All right. So kind of going back to what Raffinay said about illness or severe mental health concerns. People don't think that you can go to therapy for, quote unquote, easy stuff. They think you just have to go for like, it got to be like bipolar disorder or schizophrenia. Therapy is definitely helpful for those things as well. But you can go to therapy for what we call adjustment disorder. And I promise y'all, adjustment just disorder just means that you are having difficulty adjusting to something in your life. Who can't say that they've had that happen? I know I can, right? So really any of us could benefit from therapy. All right. Raffinay said, I'm sick of that strong black woman syndrome. Yes, I am not superwoman, and I'm not trying to be. Y'all remember that old song, I'm not your superwoman? Yeah, not only am I not his superwoman, I am not a superwoman, period. Right? And that's not a badge of honor at all. People put themselves in the ground real early trying to be superwoman and superman. Unnecessary. All right, Kevin said admitting you need help is also a form of strength. It is. But and Kevin, what you hit on is one of the other points. A lot of people think it's weakness. Oh, I can't do this on my own. And y'all, I just really want to stress this for people that have little ones. And when I say little ones, I'm just talking about like teens, kids as well, but definitely teens, even young adults. If you have those folks in your life, know that these attitudes trickle down to them. I can't tell you how many of my kids were like, oh, I know that this is pretty bad. I know that I'm only sleeping 2, 3 hours a night because I'm so anxious. I know it's hard for me to go to school because I'm terrified all day. And I also know that it's not typical, but I got it. I can do it. Dr. CC, I don't really need you to help me with that. I know you got other folks to help. I know you got stuff to do. I got this. And I just simply, I don't tell them they don't have it, right? We know they don't have it, but I don't tell them that. All I simply ask them is, why do you have to have it on your own? Why you got to do it on your own? What is that about? Where did you get that message from? And when they think about it, it's not like they usually say like, "Oh, my mom said this on, Tuesday, January 12th." It's not like that. This is something that has trickled down. This is something that they've seen and they've picked up these attitudes. And then when parents and loved ones see it in the kids, they're like, where did this come from? We don't want them to think like that. But y'all, they getting it from us. So again, that's why we have to be mindful. Okay? Yeah. Oh, hey, Mom. Mom said some people are embarrassed to ask for help. Definitely. Because again, we're thinking we should have it on our own. Or it says something about our character that we need help. not remembering that we probably just helped somebody else the day before, or we're helping people all the time, and we don't judge them like that. So why are we holding ourselves to a different standard than we hold other people to? Just a thought. Okay. Number two, do you view therapy as help and a viable option, or do you view it as punishment, failure, or a last resort? And I've seen that a lot. People that ask me, hey, how does this therapy thing work? And I'll give them the information. I'll say, hey, you can call this number, you can do this, you can look up this on Psychology Today or wherever, and you could probably get it started pretty quickly. And they'll say, oh, I'm not quite there yet. Right? Like people want to wait, and we see it all the time. People want to wait till things are bad, and then they want to use it as a last resort. We don't have to do that. All right. And as far as thinking that is some type of failure, I've had so many parents that feel guilty that their kid needed therapy. They felt like they did something wrong, or they dropped the ball, right? Or they missed something. And so a lot of times, we'll try our best to help reframe it for them. And we'll say, like, look at how much you love your kid, that you are willing to use all of the available resources, including therapy, to help them. And when folks can actually accept that and they can believe that, they'll start to feel better and they'll start to be more engaged in therapy. So that's the other part about this. So, y'all, when we go to therapy, but we're still kind of closed off in how we think about it, we aren't fully engaging in therapy. We aren't getting all the things out of therapy that we could get. Okay, so just something else to think about. How are you viewing therapy itself? Is it helpful and a viable option, something that you would do at any time? Or are you looking at it as a punishment or as failure or a last resort? Okay. And then number three, do you feel like therapy should be an option for everyone? So going back to what I said a little bit earlier, some of my kids will say, well, I got problems, but my problems aren't that bad. And I'll say, well, what is that bad? And they'll say, well, not bad enough that you got to listen to them. Not bad enough that you need to help me with it. And some of them will even say, and because they're so sweet and considerate, in case y'all don't know, I love kids and I think they're so awesome. I have some kids that'll say, I don't want to take up resources that other people could be using. Right. So they'll say, like, Dr. Cece, you got a lot to do. You got a lot of folks to see. I don't want to take up somebody else's time. And I tell them all, this time is your time, right? You're not taking up anybody else's time. I see everybody that I need to see. And right now is your time. So let's concentrate on you. And sometimes that comes out of, them being considerate and being sweet. Sometimes it comes out of this place where they are just uncomfortable, right? So again, do you think therapy is an option for everybody? Or do you think it's just for folks that have like severe problems? Right. And so I'm going to tell y'all, like I tell everybody I see in therapy, everybody has the right to receive help. Everybody. Everybody might not get it, right? Everybody might not reach out for it. And sometimes people have to wait and all of that. But everybody has a right to receive the help that they need. Everybody. Yeah. Hey, Ebony. Ebony said the way you frame it, language matters when you talk about taboo topics. Exactly. Exactly. And so a lot of times, we are still thinking about therapy as taboo in a lot of ways when y'all it's out here. And that actually helps get me to my next point, right? So, y'all, even if you don't think that your problems are that bad, so to speak, or that it's just regular stuff and that a lot of other folks are dealing with the same stuff, kind of like we talked about with racial trauma, just because it's happening, it doesn't mean that it's okay. And it doesn't mean that you don't have to address it, right? So if there are things bothering you, if there are things that are causing obstacles, right, in your path or on your journey to achieving your goals, if there are things that you just want to talk out, you have the right to have someone help you do that. That is your right. And so, y'all, I hope that this has helped someone. identify how they might use therapy and mental health services. And I want to give you all some ideas about how to find Black therapists in particular. Okay. So hold on for a minute. I'm gonna pull up something, and I'm gonna drop this link in the chat so you all can get it. But I just want to go over a couple of databases and websites that you can use to find Black therapists or therapists of color. Okay, so you have therapy for Black girls. Everybody loves therapy for Black girls. You have therapy for Black men, and that's important. So y'all, that's a whole nother topic that I could do a series on as well. If you all want to hear that one, you can send me a DM. But Black men in therapy, y'all, it's needed. It is needed. And I am seeing more and more, to my heart's delight, that there are more and more Black men going into therapy and being open about needing help and wanting help. And so, Therapy for Black Men is an awesome website for you all to use. Ebony, so Ebony Magazine, they have a Black mental health resources list, and it is awesome. And again, I'm going to drop the link to this article that I'm looking at. It's called choosingtherapy.com, the Finding a Black Therapist article. And so shout out to choosingtherapy.com. They did an awesome job. There are a lot of resources in here, a lot of good information about therapy and affordable therapy too. So don't miss that. Y'all, there are services out there that are on sliding scales. There are usually more like private practices out there that have what you call like therapy scholarships. So people donate to their practice so people that can't afford therapy can get therapy. All right, either for free or for a very discounted rate. So I promise you, there are affordable options out there. And then you have Hurdle. Hurdle is a therapy finding service, online service, and they are accepting clients in Maryland, Virginia, and the DC area. So up here where I am in the DMV. You have Melanin and Mental Health. Melanin and Mental Health is an awesome service. They're also a website. I follow them on Instagram and on Facebook, and they are always posting helpful resources and helpful tidbits of information. And then you have Health in Her Hue. I love the title. So Health in Her Hue is actually a service that helps women of color find all types of health services. So not just mental health, but also physical health services like primary care physicians and specialists like OBGYNs and things like that. So y'all, there are people out here doing the work. There are people that are trying to make sure that we are connected with services and that we know what it is that's available to us. Okay, so now Open Path Collective, that's a database that allows you to search for therapists that provide the affordable therapy that I was talking about. All right, so for prices between like $30 and $60 a session. So again, y'all, like there are some services out here. And like you all dropped in the chat, we have a lot of reasons why we wouldn't do it or why we can't do it. But let's shift our thinking. If we start thinking about this like this is something to help us thrive, this is a coping strategy, this is something that's not only desired by some, but is needed by many, all right, we'll find ways to do what we need to do. Okay, so y'all, I'm gonna drop this. I'm gonna go ahead and drop this link in the chat so you all can get to it. Hold on. There we go. So you all take a look at that article. If you have any questions, if you need any guidance, because again, I talked about good therapy. Okay. So just like any other field, just like anything else, everybody is not for you. That's just what it is. Everybody won't be a match. And like I told you all when I talked about mental health services back in May, the match is really important. So you feeling comfortable enough to be open with your therapist and tell them the information that you need to tell them, and then them being able to meet you where you are, that part is really important. So, when we talk about good therapy, we're talking about therapy that works for you. And we are definitely talking about people that are trained to do this job, okay? So if you all need any guidance, if you have any questions, drop me a DM. All right. I love talking about this stuff because, again, I want everybody to be happy, healthy, and whole. All right. And if you all are not following me on Heart and Soul, please do. It's Heart and Soul Mental Health. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter. I'm not as active on my Twitter account, but you can find me at those other two pretty frequently. I have dropped my website, my new website, which I'm really excited about. I've dropped that in the body of this live. And I also dropped my YouTube page so you all can go back and see previous lives if you've missed them. All right. All right, y'all. So that's my time tonight. Thank you all for joining me. Everybody that's going to see this later, thank you too for watching. And I will see you all next week. You all stay safe and be blessed.